Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Billy coming at you today with the first of a handful of updates. The first update that we're going to do here is a country update, recent finds, and by recent I mean maybe the last 3 months or so. I've just had so much coming in. I set a lot of the stuff aside. I finally was able to get a little bit of a system down. As you saw in the room tour, if you've had a chance to check that video out, you saw how we've got everything set up back here behind me. It doesn't get put on the shelf until it's been cleaned, uh, entered into Discogs, sleeved, and then it goes on the shelves. I have an intake cube, all new stuff, and actually it's a full 2x2 because I've gotten so much crap that I was so far behind on. But I'm hoping to limit that and restrict it to just one of the four cubes. But anyway, let's jump right into it because there's a lot to show here. So this is my country update. Some things that I've picked up here. Merle Haggard 501 Blues. Some of these are upgrades. I'll let you know. Some of them are just upgrades. Some of them I already have. Others are just new, recent additions to the collection. This is one I did not have. Tanya Tucker, love her. This is Tennessee Woman. This is one of the later. Yeah, this is from 1990. So that would explain why I didn't have it. Is to get the glare off there. They're just hard to find. And let's see what this has on it. As far as hits are concerned, Don't Go Out with Him. That was a duet with T. Graham Brown. It Won't Be Me. Love that song. Walking Shoes. So yeah, there's some really good. She had some big hits off that album. Another one that I didn't have here, Patty Loveless, On Down the Line. Great, the title track is great as well on that one. And this one is from 1990 as well. So always good to pick up those harder to find late 80s or early 90s pressings. And then these were ones I never leave laying around because you just don't see it too much, especially for the price. I think I paid less than $5 for this. But George Strait, Beyond the Blue Neon, another copy of. This is a duplicate copy. Living It Up. I was going to say Living Up for some reason, but Living It Up. This one is extremely hard to find, and it came out. I think this was 91. No, this is 1990 as well. But this has the hits. We have Drinking Champagne, Love Without End, Amen, and I've Come to Expect It From You. Those were all number ones from George, I believe. And then this is one that I didn't have, so it's nice to get that much closer to completing the George Strait collection. And this is Twang from 2009. 2009. I was going to say 2010, but 2009. And you know, a lot of George's stuff, they're finally starting to reissue a lot of the older stuff. But man, I'm with Steve, Harmless Rebel. There's certain things that they really, really need to print. Some of his later stuff, you know, Troubadour and things like that. Those need to get printed. Carrying Your Love with Me, all those great albums. We really need to get those out. This is a couple Goodwill finds here. A very early Conway Twitty, To See My Angel Cry. That's when she started to Stop Loving You. So that one was very cool and really nice condition. I was glad to pick that one up. And then always stoked to see some early Dolly, especially in good condition. This is Jolene. What a great song. Well, one of the finest, not just country songs, but one of the finest songs ever written, I believe. It's amazing. She's such a talent. Then, you know, I spent some time in Florida covering the Cardinals down there, and was fortunate enough for the first day when I flew in. We had a really light schedule, so I flew into Fort Lauderdale flew into Fort Lauderdale because we stayed in Jupiter, but flew into Fort Lauderdale, called a buddy of mine who lives fairly close. He picked me up, and we went out, had lunch, shot the breeze for a little bit, caught up, and he took me to a couple record stores. And I was able to find a very, very nice early pressing. I think this is his second release, Johnny Paycheck, Jukebox Charlie. Just a gorgeous copy. And, you know, it's amazing the differences in the record stores here as well as down in Florida. The country stuff down there, I mean, if this were, like, say, in Nashville or even some of the stores here in St. Louis, this would have been $15, $18 or so. This was $8 in Florida, and in really, really nice condition. VG Plus or better condition. Just great to add that one. And then another one, Townes Van Zandt, Flying Shoes, an original copy on tomato. There we go. So I picked those up. That one was a little bit more. I think I probably paid $13 or $14 for that one, which is still a steal. You can't even get those on eBay for that. And then this was in the $4 bin. A really nice copy of Wanted, the Outlaws. You know, Waylon, Willie, Jesse, and Tom Paul Glazer. And I picked that one up because I think it may be an upgrade. If not, then my sister will get it. Here's a couple more Goodwill finds. Bobby Bare, Drunk and Crazy, and I picked this up because I do like Bobby Bare. I don't love Bobby by any stretch of the imagination, but like Marie Laveau and songs like that are great. But this has some of the titles on this: Drunk and Crazy, The World's Last Truck Driving Man. Bathroom Tissue Paper Letter, Gotta Get Rid of This Band, Drinking, Drugging, and Watching TV, Your Credit Card Won't Get You Into Heaven, I've Never Gone to Bed with an Ugly Woman. And then it has the Desperados Waiting for a Train. So I've got to give that one a listen, just for the song titles alone. Here's another one that I was pretty stoked to find. Doug Kershaw, The Cajun Way. And I picked this up strictly for the first song on side one, Diggy Diggy Low. Story behind Doug Kershaw, I was never exposed to any Doug Kershaw music until I think it was probably 1990 or 91. The Super Bowl was played at the Superdome in Louisiana. And the halftime show was a country show. I think they had Tanya Tucker, Travis Tritt, and Doug Kershaw opened up the halftime show, and he played that song, and I loved the energy and just couldn't let it sit there. I'm glad to get that one. Filling some holes in the David Allan Coe collection. Get that glare off there, sorry. This is Son of the South. Not a great album, but I mean, I had to have it. It has a really nice cover of Storms Never Last on there, which is written by Jessie Coulter, you know, Waylon's wife. This was a nice addition. I've been looking for this one for a long time. Conway Twitty, Still in Your Dreams, and this has Goodbye Time on it, and this is from 1988, so one of those harder to find later issue Conway records. And then, guys, the streak continues. So I was in an antique mall. It's been probably 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks or a month ago. An antique mall, just one town up, 20 minutes up the street. And just perusing through. They used to have a dealer in there that had a bunch of great records. Well, he had since moved all his stuff out. And it had probably been 6 months or more since I'd been to this antique mall. So that guy was gone. I went upstairs. His stuff was all gone. I came down and asked the gentleman behind the counter what happened, and he said the guy found a better deal 2 towns up at an antique place. So I wasn't going to do that, but I did ask him if he had any records, cassettes, 8-tracks, and any of the other booths that I hadn't visited yet. 'Cause I didn't see any, and he's like, yeah. He pointed to this little area basically like a little shelf down here that had about that many records on it. 20 or 30 records was all, and it was all pretty much old country stuff. But it was very cool to find, especially for $3. Some roll out the red carpet for Buck Owens and his Buckaroos. I did not have this one. I haven't had a chance to spin it yet. I don't know. I love Buck Owens, and for $3, I wasn't going to let it sit there. And like I said, guys, you're not going to believe this, but look what else was in there as well. I know Steve and a couple of you guys are going to freak. Another copy of Old Five and Dimers Like Me, and another promotional copy. So $3. Couldn't believe it. Unbelievable condition. BG Plus. It's just superb. Yeah, I'm bragging. I'm gloating on that because that was a killer find. To find that locally in a store was unbelievable. Moving right along here, this is, and I apologize if I've shown this one already. I may have shown it right when I got it, but Brent Cobb, Shine On Rainy Day. This guy is a fairly new singer-songwriter from Atlanta area, probably Atlanta, Macon, Marietta, somewhere in that area. But he is related to the country mega producer Dave Cobb. Dave produces Sturgill Simpson. The list goes on and on. Everybody: Chris Stapleton, Sturgill Simpson, Jason Isbell, Shooter Jennings. Pretty much anybody who's cool making country music these days, Dave is producing them. So, how I was introduced here to Brent was through this album. This is Lee Ann Womack's new album. Can't even remember what it's called. The Lonely, the Lonesome, and the Gone. And it's a double LP. Just a great, kind of a retro country sound a little bit. But anyway, there's a song on here called Shine On Rainy Day, which was written by Brent Cobb. And as much as I love Lee Ann, Brent Cobb's version just blows it away. This guy's great. This album is phenomenal. He's starting to tour now, and I think I'm going to see him in later this month. So that's some really cool stuff right there. Another one that was picked up the day it was released was Chris Stapleton, and I haven't talked about this one yet. Chris Stapleton from a room, because it's Studio A is what it's called, so it's From a Room. This is Volume 2, and I really loved From a Room Volume 1. It was one of my favorites. It stayed in steady rotation for a long time. This one here, unfortunately, I think falls just a little bit short of that. And I've spun this, at least a dozen times. There are some songs that I do really like. Of course, the Midnight Train to Memphis. KSHE, our local radio station, is playing the hell out of that song. So it's pretty crazy to think that if you want to hear Chris Stapleton, one of the best country artists going right now, you have to turn on rock radio because they're not playing it on country radio. Matter of fact, they're not playing anything new off this record. They're still playing older songs, stuff from A Room Volume 1 or even from Traveler. So I would say if I had to rate this, and I'm going to have to live with it for a little bit. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's kind of just falls right in the middle there. I would say this is probably my least favorite Stapleton release, followed by From a Room Volume 1, and then Traveler. Traveler is head and shoulders above anything he's done, and everybody knows how great that is. This was picked up, I'm trying to think where I got these. Okay, so Brandon and I, Mr. Hall of Fame, had set up a meeting. We were going to meet one night and go do a little bit of digging. So the record store that we were set to meet at, he got held up at a previous engagement just for a few minutes. So I went ahead and went on in and dug at this first store because sometimes I get crazy and it takes forever. And I ended up finding this. Merle Haggard and the Strangers presents his 30th album, and this has some really good songs on it. Old Man from the Mountain, Things Aren't Funny Anymore, Honky Tonk Nighttime Man, Holding Things Together, um, and the Seashores of Old Mexico. So there's some really good classic Haggard stuff there, and I believe I think I picked that up for $4 or $5, less than $5. And another one that I picked up was Conway, Crazy in Love, and this was actually cheaper, just probably because they didn't know. But this is from 1990. This is a really hard album to find. It does not have any big singles on it, but it still doesn't make it any less great. I mean, it's Conway, and it's tough to find. And then we went to, Brandon and I ended up going to Half Price Books. And I really never find anything in Half Price Books. But the first thing that caught Brandon's eye, he's like, what? When he walked in, he's like, dude, where did you find the MoFi? It's a MoFi pressing, a really nice VG Plus pressing of Crystal Gale. And this is We Must Believe in Magic. Of course, this has the big hit, Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue. And I came home, cleaned this thing up, and put it on. And I've spun this probably half a dozen times since then. It's great, and I'm so glad to have this in the collection. And I correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon, but I think I picked this up for like $3. It was dirt cheap. Same with this, Winona, self-titled. It was just setting right up there with like all the Judd stuff that should be $3, and this was $3. This is the 1992 self-titled solo release from Winona. Songs like She Is His Only Need, I Saw the Light, My Strongest Weakness, No One Else on Earth. Unbelievable album and super rare, hard to find. So stoked to pick that one up. Then I had all those collections that I picked up over the summer. I finally got everything sorted. As you can see, got everything sorted and excuse me, sorted, and I figured what I was going to keep and what I was going to get rid of. Some things I sent out as VCLT. Other things I sold cheap to friends that collect here locally. And then I put all the rest of it together, called up my local record store, and told them, hey, I've got about 1,000 records here. It was actually like 990. It was just shy of 1,000 records. And they're not all great. I mean, there's some really good stuff in here. There's some stuff that's beat up, but you know, people that are just starting might want to get a Led Zeppelin record for $3 or $4 or $5 in, you know, VG or VG minus condition. You know, not everybody's going to be able to afford or even care to get VG plus excellent near mint stuff. So I put all that stuff in there, and I told him, you know, we came to an agreement, and I believe what I was looking for was $500, so it would come down to like roughly 50 cents a record. And these are records that they would sell, even their junk records they're selling for $1. You know, they got a 99-cent bin for junk. But a lot of this stuff they were going to sell for $8, $10, $12 a piece. I mean, there was some decent stuff in here. Just stuff that was duplicates that I didn't need. It was in lesser condition. And I didn't want to take the time to put the stuff on Discogs and mail all that stuff out. I mean, for the price that I got a lot of this stuff for, trust me, that would have been a good deal for me to get rid of all that for $500. Long and short of it is, we split the difference. He offered me $250. I wanted $500. We kind of split in the middle. I ended up settling on $350. Of that, it was $150 cash, $200 in store credit. And so this is some of the stuff that I ended up getting with the store credit. Trisha Yearwood, self-titled debut. This has She's in Love with the Boy, The Woman Before Me, That's What I Like About You, Like We Never Had a Broken Heart. I mean, what an unbelievable record. Victim of the Game, which is, you know, she actually recorded this before, no, it was actually right after, just a little bit after Garth recorded it. Because this is from 1991, and she also recorded Lonesome Dove, but this was recorded before Garth recorded Lonesome Dove. So there you have it, Trisha Yearwood, self-titled debut. Super hard to find. Of all the things I ended up getting from him, which I got a really, really cool Guns N' Roses uh, release as well. But this was the one I was most super pumped about. And then this is other stuff that I got with my credit. I'm just going to blow through these. New Chris Young, Losing Sleep. He is a buddy of mine. I've known Chris since he was 13. We used to play songwriters nights together. Great dude. I still call him a kid, but he's a grown man, and he's one of the best voices out there in country music right now. Love Chris. Have all his stuff. Slowly picking up the Steve Earle reissues, and this is The Hard Way, one that I didn't have yet on the reissues. Of course, I've got Copperhead Road and Guitar Town, a couple others. Sidetracks. This was a nice one. Just didn't have it yet. It's nice to have some store credit and pick up stuff that you wouldn't normally go out and actively seek. Been looking for a really nice copy, an original copy of this, Townes Van Zandt, live from the Old Quarter, Houston, Texas. But man, finding original poppy or tomato pressings of this are just in the kind of condition that I want, well, in any condition, but especially the condition I'm looking for, it's impossible. And they're super expensive. Anyway, you guys all know that this is great. One of the best live albums probably ever put out. I mean, Townes and his guitar. It doesn't get any better than that. Then this one was kind of weird. This was I saw this was coming out. It's a Crazy Heart, the movie, the soundtrack. So you got Jeff Bridges kind of playing this old, weathered, weary, traveled country music star. Kind of I kind of felt very Waylon Jennings-esque. And then there's this young guy coming up that's all hot shit, and this guy can't get a gig in a bowling alley. And anyway, long story short, it's who is Colin Farrell is the young guy, the hot to trot country artist. But the song that kind of blew me away was by an artist that I was very unfamiliar with when the movie came out, but Ryan Bingham. And he does a couple songs on here. But that one song is The Weary Kind. That's the theme song from this. But this is a 2-disc set with some great stuff. Jeff Bridges actually sings some songs on here, and he's a pretty decent singer himself. But you got Jeff Bridges, Buck Owens, Louvin Brothers, Ryan Bingham, Kitty Wells, Lightning Hopkins, Waylon Jennings, George Jones. It's got some really good stuff on there. Glad to have that one. These are more things that I picked up from that. We're just continuing with store credit, because that's all stuff I picked up with the store credit. Oak Ridge Boys, Fancy Free. Oak Ridge Boys Have Arrived. Like I said, guys, I'm flying through these. I'm almost there, I promise. This is one you don't see that often. Lori Morgan. This is Leave a Light On, I believe. Yeah, Leave the Light On. And this is from 1989. And this has Trainwreck of Emotion, Out of Your Shoes, which is a great song. I'll Take the Memories, Dear Me, love that song. 5 Minutes was a huge hit. He Talks to Me. Gosh, this was a great album. Really, really good album. So I was stoked to pick that one up. They had that priced way below what it should have been as well. So that wraps up what I had from my store credit. But here are a couple other things that I picked up recently. Vern Gosdin. This is There Is a Season, which for some reason when I hear that I think of a Christmas album, but it's not. I mean, this has I Can Tell by the Way You Dance, You're Gonna Love Me Tonight. That's all I can think of right at this point. But that's one that was a big hit. And then one more Vern Gosdin, If You're Gonna Do Me Wrong, Do It Right. And then Today My World Slipped Away, which was later covered by George Strait. And that's all the big ones on there. This was a really really killer pickup. I have never seen this record before, and this is George Jones. You Ought to Be Here with Me. This is from 1990. Does not have anything on there that was played on the radio, but it does have a version. He recorded Old Red, which Blake Shelton later recorded, and I didn't even know George recorded this because I had never heard this album, to be completely honest with you. And when I popped it open and put it on, it's a little bit different, but it's still great. It's George Jones. It's awesome. Another hole in the David Allan Coe collection, family album. I thought I had this one, but for some reason just didn't have it. And then this one, these last two here, sorry that we're going so long, super pumped. I mean, it's absolutely 100% super pumped to find this one finally. This is Hank 22, which I think that kind of would lead to be his 22nd studio album. But this is from 1991, and it's a double record, basically a compilation. But it is impossible to find, and so glad that I finally found that. I believe this was on eBay, and I scored it for a steal. It was unbelievable. So that's gonna probably come very close to rounding out my Bocephus box, my Hank Williams Jr. box, which would be one of those custom boxes like Brandon has been making of his Kiss and Rush, Black Sabbath. I got a Bocephus box that I'm working on. And then lastly here, guys, Johnny Paycheck. This is Modern Times. This is probably a 87 release. Yeah, 1987. Again, another record that I did not have. It's very hard to find. I mean, especially here in the States, it's impossible to find. But this has the big song, Old Violin. And I've just picked it up specifically for that song. But man, I got to tell you, the whole side A is it's a little bit of a letdown, but side B is phenomenal. Songs like Joe LeBlanc, Old Violin, She Don't Love Me All the Time, and Grow Old Too Fast, and Smart Too Slow. But Joe LeBlanc was one that just kind of blew me away from the get-go. It's a duet with Jimmy Hall. And of course, if you know Jimmy Hall, you know, lead singer of Wet Willie. Just always loved Jimmy's vocals. I think he's a phenomenal vocalist. Just an extremely talented dude, you know, plays the harmonica and sings. Anyway, they do a duet. He sings harmonies. It's unbelievable. He sings harmonies on a lot of this stuff too. So good stuff. Happy to have that. It's an extremely rare record. And trying to fill out that Johnny Paycheck collection as well. So guys, thanks for hanging in there. 25 minutes, man. 25, 28 minutes. If you hung in there, more power to you. Thanks for always tuning in, guys. And that's my country update. Now I got to get these things put on these shelves back here. So, all right, guys, as always, thanks for tuning in. Take care. Peace.